The first thing Ethan Morrell noticed about the Belle Reve Center was that it didn't smell like a hospital. It smelled like an orchid farm, warm, humid, and sweet. The lobby ceiling curved like the inside of a seashell, and sunlight spilled through a lattice of skylights onto imported marble. Home, office, and every conference room he'd ever browbeaten an investor in felt suddenly drab. If Rehab was supposed to sting, Belle Reve was a gentle pinch at most. A discreet concierge took his phone, tablet, and smartwatch with an apologetic smile. "Digital detox," she said, lowering her voice as though confessing an affair. "You'll get them back when you graduate." She handed him a slim linen booklet of rules and a gold key card embossed with a wave. While she led him down a hushed corridor, Ethan skimmed the booklet. Holistic immersion, somatic therapy, nature immersion, trust-based exploration. He'd paid the deposit expecting 5-star treatment, but the language still struck him as soft. He wanted discipline, something to smash his spiraling Adderall and vodka habit before the board unseated him. The concierge paused by a frosted glass door. "You're sweet. Group orientation at 6. There's a map in your welcome folder, but if you get lost, follow the silver lines on the floor. They guide you back to the atrium." Inside, the suite resembled a boutique hotel room designed by a Scandinavian monk. Pale wood, white linen, and a window wall opening onto an emerald lawn. On the desk sat a covered silver tray. Under the dome, a single red apple rested atop a folded note. "Let yourself be seen. No signature." Ethan placed the apple in the mini-fridge, telling himself it was a cutesy wellness gesture, nothing more. Still, the phrase nagged while he unpacked. He had spent a lifetime hiding, first his custody bruises, then his student loan debts, then the numbers he massaged to make Trellis Labs look profitable. Let yourself be seen. What did that even look like? At 6, he found the atrium, a greenhouse the size of a hangar, where 14 other patients sat in a loose semicircle. A waterfall tinkled nearby, the acoustics bafflingly perfect. A therapist in linen, Dr. Varga, welcomed them, spoke about courage, and introduced the staff. Simple, nurturing, disarming. And then Varga said, "Tomorrow, each of you will meet the mirrors." Heads lifted. Even the dyed-in-the-wool celebrities among them seemed curious. "The mirrors," Varga continued, "are an experiential tool. They reveal pathways, not certainties but possibilities, to help you choose the life you wish to live." A silver-haired woman raised her hand, bracelets clinking. "Actual mirrors?" "Actual, though the experience goes deeper than reflection," Varga replied. "Tonight, rest, hydrate. Meditation is optional but encouraged." Ethan assumed it was metaphorical. A guided imagery exercise, maybe VR if Belle Reve was tech-savvy. He couldn't have been further off. At dawn, a soft chime woke him. A line of sunlight bisected the room. On the doorstep lay a white envelope. "Appointment, 7:15, Mirror Wing." A silver line ran beneath the text. He found the silver floor lines Varga had mentioned, which led him through a flourish of corridors to a circular annex whose walls shimmered like oil on water. An attendant opened the door and ushered him in alone. The mirror room was black marble, its ceiling lost in darkness. In the center stood a freestanding oval mirror, its frame raw iron. No lights, yet the glass glowed faint blue. Ethan approached. At first, the mirror showed his reflection. Brown hair unkempt, cheekbones poking through lawyer-tired skin. Then something bled through, an overlay like double exposure. He saw himself on a stage, older by 15 years, wearing a plain gray t-shirt instead of his usual blazer, speaking to a crowd that filled a stadium. Not about software. He couldn't make out the words, only that the audience was rapt. A feeling of calm certainty radiated from future Ethan. The scene shifted. He stood on a veranda overlooking rolling vineyards, a boy and a girl chasing a dog through grass. A woman, no one he recognized, placed a hand on his shoulder. Happiness saturated the air. The image dissolved, replaced by another. Ethan in a sterile courtroom, hands cuffed, cameras flashing. Then an ICU bed, ventilator hissing. A staccato montage of outcomes, branching and recombining like a vine. At last the glass cleared and he saw only himself again, trembling. His rational brain lunged for an explanation. High-resolution projection, neuro-aided hallucination, something cooked up by a Hollywood effects team. He looked around for seams or projectors and found none. The mirror's surface had felt as deep as a pond. Exiting the annex, he bumped into another patient, Celia Harrow, the British actress whose divorce had recently devoured tabloid ink. Her mascara was smudged, but her eyes glittered like mercury. "Did you?" she began. "Yeah," Ethan said before he realized she hadn't finished her sentence. She hugged herself. "I saw my daughter." Tears welled. "But I don't have a daughter." Ethan decided not to mention his courtroom scene. Instead, he said, "Maybe it's what could be, not what is." "That's what scares me," Celia whispered. By lunchtime, Belle Reve buzzed with mirror talk. Marcos, a Venezuelan lottery winner, said he'd watched himself burn through his fortune and die alone in a Bahamian mansion. Then, in another thread, built orphanages across South America. Effie, a neuroscientist, claimed she'd seen her funeral attended by exactly 3 mourners. Rich, the ex-baseball pitcher, had seen nothing at all. The mirror stayed blank, which frightened him worse than the others. Dr. Varga held a group debrief in a cedar-scented yoga studio. "The mirrors show potentialities," she said calmly. "Which thread speaks to you? Which frightens you? Both are teachers." Ethan found himself speaking before he planned to. "How accurate are these potentialities? Are they algorithmic? Psychological profiling? I mean, we all filled out intake forms." Varga shook her head. "Accuracy is the wrong lens. The mirrors respond to you, not your paperwork. They're co-created visions." "Respond how?" he pressed. "The easiest way to explain is consciousness makes requests, and the mirrors answer with symbols." She smiled. "Trust the process." Ethan hated the phrase. Trust was something he subcontracted to lawyers. Yet the images clung to him, vibrating under his skin. That night he could not sleep. Headlines scrolled across his inner eye. Tech prodigy, sentenced. He replayed the board meeting scheduled 2 weeks after his discharge, the one where his CFO would reveal the deficit Ethan had been patching with revenue projections and holy optimism. At 3 a.m., he got dressed and followed the silver line back to the mirror wing, half convinced security would stop him. No one did. The annex door yielded to his touch. The mirror pulsed faint cobalt in the dark. "Show me how to fix it," he murmured. The glass bloomed with data. Lines of code, market charts, acquisition contracts, things he recognized but also did not. A company name surfaced repeatedly. Helix Dynamics. In the timeline, Ethan pivoted Trellis Labs into gene editing software, merged with Helix, and 4 years later rang the NASDAQ bell. The courtroom vanished. The veranda vineyard scene reappeared. The wife, the children, sunlight. He stepped back, heart thundering with possibility. It made maddening sense. Pivot to biotech, ride the CRISPR boom, dazzle the board and investors into forgetting the current mess. He could do it. He just needed capital, connections, regulatory smoothing. A quiet cough in the doorway. Ethan spun. A staff member in a gray suit, one he hadn't seen earlier, leaned against the jamb. Thin, bird-like, rimless spectacles. "Late-night inspiration?" "Couldn't sleep," Ethan said, defensive as a child caught sneaking cookies. The man nodded at the mirror. "I'm glad you're getting value. Most guests take several sessions to find actionable clarity." Ethan squinted. "You're not on the therapy roster. I'm with development." He extended a hand. "Call me Alistair." Development. Belle Reve's philanthropic arm. Alistair's voice was buttered velvet. "We help guests bridge insight and impact. Ethan almost laughed. What does philanthropy have to do with my mirror projection? Quite a bit, if you intend to pursue it. Alistair gestured toward a leather bench by the wall. May I? Ethan nodded, still rattled. Alistair sat. You saw a partnership with Helix Dynamics, yes? Ethan stiffened. How do... Helix is a frequent node in the trajectories of certain visionary guests. A smile ghosted across Alistair's lips. We have long-standing relationships. Ethan's pulse hammered. Are you telling me Belle Reve can arrange an introduction? Among other facilitative services. Alistair folded his hands. Our larger initiative is called Angel Gate. We curate capital flows toward technologies that elevate humanity. Gene therapy, climate engineering, consciousness research. Guests like you become stewards of those flows after their mirror work aligns intent and capacity. Ethan exhaled a disbelieving laugh. You want me to invest in your pet projects? Not ours, yours. Alistair's eyes glittered. The mirror gave you a blueprint. We provide the scaffolding, funding, legal architecture, political goodwill. Things even the best entrepreneurs find laborious. And in return, Ethan asked, a seat at Angel Gate's round table, influence commensurate with your contribution, a chance to shape the future you witnessed. The veranda, the children, the golden light. Visions that hadn't existed until that morning glowed in his mind with impossible seduction. I need to think, he said. Of course. Alistair rose. Tomorrow we're hosting a salon after dinner. Join us, hear the possibilities. He slipped out, leaving Ethan alone with the breathing blue glass. Over breakfast, Ethan scanned the dining hall, noticing a subtle stratification. Some patients wore white wristbands, others silver. He hadn't seen those yesterday. Celia entered, now sporting a silver band. She looked rested but wary. I got invited to some salon tonight, she whispered when he joined her table. You? He nodded. Angel Gate. She bit her lip. They said they could fund a producing company for me. Films about mental health, addiction. Stuff studios won't touch. Marcos slid into the seat beside them. You talking about the Bracelet Club? He lifted his arm, also silver. They want me to open a microfinance bank in Caracas. Say they'll match my capital 10-1. Ethan glanced around for staff. Therapists floated by with serene smiles. Nothing looked covert, yet a hum of tension vibrated over the artisanal chia pudding. At group therapy, Varga spoke about integration. She asked them to paint their preferred trajectories using watercolors. While the others swirled pigments, Ethan's mind buzzed. If Angel Gate could truly orchestrate market moves, Helix could salvage Trellis and crown him a visionary instead of a fraud. But why hide behind wellness theater? Why not pitch openly? After the session, he cornered Effie, the neuroscientist. You're a scientist. Any guess how the mirrors work? She sighed. Proprietary tech, obviously. My best hypothesis is a combination of predictive algorithms, biosensor feedback, and... She shrugged. Psychedelic gas. Did you notice a smell? I caught trace amounts of 5-MeO-DMT in my saliva after. That's legal? Not in the U.S., but Belle Reve's technically offshore jurisdiction. She studied him. Why? He told her about Alistair's pitch. Effie's expression darkened. They offered me a research grant. 8 figures. She dropped her voice. Something's wrong, Ethan. I dug into Belle Reve's parent company. It's a shell, traces back to a trust in Vaduz, then vanishes. Angel Gate isn't a charity, it's a funnel. For what? Can't find out. Every road dead ends. I think they use the mirrors to engineer emotional leverage, then recruit capital. Ethan thought of his veranda children, the serenity on future him's face. Emotional leverage, indeed. That evening, the salon convened in a domed observatory atop the center. Velvet sofas ringed a glass fire pit that emitted holographic flames. Selected patients, silver band wearers, mingled with executives in dark suits. Champagne flowed. Ethan spotted Celia talking to a venture capitalist he recognized from TechCrunch headlines. Marcos huddled with a former IMF director. Alistair materialized. "Glad you came. Walk with me." He guided Ethan to a balcony. The sea spread black and infinite below, moonlight painting silver stripes on its surface. "I understand you're worried," Alistair began softly. "Everyone is at first. Angel Gate operates discreetly because our work threatens entrenched powers, oil cartels, pharmaceutical giants, entities that profit from stagnation. We bypass them by cultivating visionaries willing to act unconventionally." Ethan leaned on the railing. "You show us a vision, make us believe it's destiny, then offer to sell us the path. That's manipulation, not liberation." "Semantics," Alistair said. "People rarely act without story. We give you story, then resources." He turned, gaze piercing. "Ask yourself, do you want the future you saw? If the answer's yes, why quibble over the catalyst?" "Because I don't know whose story it really is," Ethan thought. Aloud he said, "I need transparency. Full financials, governance structure, conflicts of interest." "Of course," Alistair said smoothly. "Our compliance team can brief you tomorrow." Ethan nodded, though suspicion coiled like smoke inside him. That night he sought Effie. They convened in the wood-fired sauna, where privacy was guaranteed by humidity so dense it felt militarized. "I got into their server," she whispered between towel-muffled coughs. "They're channeling money to something called Project Janus. Medical equipment, genetic sequencing rigs, cryotanks. Billions." "Human experimentation?" Ethan asked. "Could be. The purchase orders mention controlled populations overseas. No oversight." Ethan wiped sweat from his eyes. If Trellis partnered with Helix, if he accepted Angel Gate's scaffolding, he could become a silent gear in whatever Janus built. The veranda flashed again behind his eyelids, but now the sunlight looked jaundiced. "Can you expose them?" he asked. "Not alone. We need evidence. And we need out in case they disappear us." A plan formed like ice crystals. The digital devices Belle Reve confiscated were kept in a security vault. Effie had lifted a key code during intake. If they retrieved their phones, they could copy files and broadcast them before Angel Gate scrubbed the servers. They enlisted Rich, the ex-pitcher, as muscle. He still resented seeing nothing in the mirror and was itching for purpose. At 2 a.m., they slipped through service corridors to the vault. Rich forced the door with surprising finesse. Years of clubhouse pranks had bred stealth. They retrieved 3 phones and Effie's compact quantum drive. But alarms trilled. Red strobes ignited the hallway. Security descended, not uniformed guards, but therapists. Varga among them, faces calm, eyes flinty. "Stop," Varga said, hands raised as if soothing horses. "Whatever story you've spun, it's fear-talking. Come back, we'll process." Ethan stepped forward. "Tell us about Project Janus." Varga's gaze flicked to Effie's drive. "You breached confidentiality. Belle Reve is a sovereign entity. Theft of data is an act of aggression." Rich squared his shoulders. "Show me a law we broke." Alistair emerged, immaculate even at this hour. "We facilitate transformation. Resistance is natural." His voice lacquered the air. "But choices carry consequences." Ethan's phone vibrated. Somehow it still had reception. A text from an unknown number. "Stall 5 minutes, backup inbound." He looked up, heart thrumming. "I'm willing to talk," he announced. Effie glared, but he winked. She understood. "Wise," Alistair said. "Let's—" A boom rippled through the corridor, lights flickering. Smoke curled under the exit door. Shouts echoed. Ethan grabbed Effie's hand. "Run!" Chaos erupted. Guests in pajamas spilled from suites. Sprinklers hissed. Ethan, Effie, and Rich dashed through the melee toward the parking terrace. Outside, 2 black vans skidded in. Logos of a major news network plastered across their sides. Cameramen jumped out, lenses already rolling. A wiry reporter with hurricane hair sprinted toward them. "Mr. Morell, Dr. Ulrich, do you have the documents?" Our whistleblower said human trials. Ethan shoved the drive into her hand. Everything's there. Broadcast it now. Spotlights flared. Security staff hesitated, mindful of cameras. In that moment, Belle Reeve's fortress mystique cracked like an eggshell. Patients poured out, some screaming, others recording on contraband phones liberated in the chaos. Alistair appeared on the terrace, flanked by 2 guards. But the lens massed against him was a shield he dared not breach. His smile finally slipped, revealing cold fury. Sirens wailed in the distance. Local police or Angel Gate's cleanup crew. Ethan couldn't tell. He turned to Effie. "We need to leave. Evidence is out. Staying means retaliation." They commandeered a guest's Range Rover, Rich at the wheel. As they pulled away, Ethan caught a last glimpse of Belle Reeve under Klieg lights. Smoke pluming, illusions bleeding out with the night air. But escape delivered no triumph. The veranda children were gone, replaced by harsh dawn and the sour taste of dread. Whatever Project Janus truly was, Angel Gate would fight like a wounded hydra. Exposing it had lit only the first torch in a labyrinthine war. Rich floored the accelerator toward the coast highway. Effie opened a laptop tethered to her phone, watching live stream feeds bloom worldwide. Reports of clandestine experiments, financial black holes, the mirror wing's hallucinatory tech. Reactions flooded in, outrage and disbelief colliding. Ethan exhaled, half laughter, half sob. "Guess we let ourselves be seen." Effie looked up, eyes tired but fierce. "Mirrors still showing futures, Ethan. We just chose a harder one." In the rear view, the Belle Reeve Center receded, its orchid-perfumed serenity stripped away to bare concrete. Ahead lay miles of serpentine road, the ocean crashing invisible below. Somewhere in that dark ribbon waited consequence, maybe ruin, maybe redemption. The future wasn't a veranda. It was this. Sweat on the steering wheel, wind howling through cracked windows, unknown shapes coalescing in the headlights. And for the first time in years, Ethan felt wholly, terribly awake.